podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, June 13th, 2021. This is episode 1805. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with the code TWIT75. But hurry, offer ends June 30th, 2021. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We've got your smartphones. We got your smart watches. We got your augmented reality. We got your virtual reality, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. If you want to talk tech, I want to talk tech with you. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Anywhere else, well, you can call via Skype, I guess. We've never really verified that, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So, fix me if I got it wrong. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Tech Guy Labs is the website. That's important because the Tech Guy Labs are where all the show notes live, and the show notes give you everything you need, so you don't have to write anything down. I don't want you to. We had a caller yesterday called in, said, last week I tried to reach you, but I got in a wreck because I was dialing the phone. Don't, please don't. I'm so sorry. Don't. I don't want to be complicit in your accidents. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to do it. Just listen in the car. Keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road and listen to the show. That's all you have to do, because James Aruvo, who is, I think, not in his car, I would hope not, is our official scribe. He's sitting at his desk writing as we speak, getting it all up on the website. So you don't have to worry about it. It'll all be there for you. As it is spoken, so it shall be written on the Tech Guy site at techguylabs.com. That's free, no sign up. Just wander on in. There's a search there. This is episode 1805. Yes, we started counting at 1. As hard to believe as that might be. This is 1805. And I think we might have to stop. I don't know if we allocated more than 4 digits for it. We might have to stop at 9,999. But that's like a long time from now, like 70 years. So I think we'll be all right. 1,805. When you get to the site, you'll see the site is divided into shows, and each show into hours, 1, 2, and 3. Each hour into segments, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can go right to the part you want. We even put audio and video from the show afterwards up there, so that, if you hear something, you can find it there, including all the links and everything like that. techguylabs.com. That's all. I just, it's a plug. It's a plug for that. Wow, we'll talk with Sam Abuelsamid in just a little bit, but I just saw a story in the IEEE Spectrum. Yeah, I read stuff like that, so you don't have to. The IEEE, which is the, what does the IEEE stand for? That's a good question. The International Engineering Electorate. It's an engineering group. And now I'm curious. I don't see anywhere on their website where they say what it is. It's the world's largest technical professional organization for the advancement of technology, advancing technology for humanity. I probably used to know what it stands for. I don't remember. Anyway, I saw. That's neither here nor there, because I saw an article on the IEEE Spectrum, which is their magazine, by Robert Charette, how software is eating the car. The trend towards self-driving and electric vehicles will add hundreds of millions of lines of code to cars. Can the auto industry cope? Just to put it in perspective, hundreds of millions of lines of code, that's how many lines of code there are in Windows. It's on that level of sophistication. I'm sure Sam's been talking about this all along, but it's kind of stunning, and it's relevant right now because according to analysts, the chip shortage, the global chip shortage, is being felt everywhere, but it's especially being felt in cars. 4.1 million autos won't be made this year because they can't get the chips. That's a lot. 10 years ago, only fancy cars had microprocessor control units. Today, fancy cars like the BMW 7 Series may contain 150 electronic control units. Pickup trucks like the Ford F-150, 150 million lines of code. As of 2017, some 40% of the cost of a new car can be attributed to semiconductors. The cost has doubled in 10 years. And they think by the end of this decade, it'll be 50%. Each new car today has about $600 worth of semiconductors, 3,000 chips in it. So it's no surprise. I mean, your steering is controlled by a chip. The doors, the windows, the mirrors, the seats. The climate control, of course, the anti-theft system, the keyless entry system. Even the steering column has a computer on it. That's remarkable. I'm sure Sam will address that. We're going to talk with Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy, in just about 20 minutes. But I just thought, wow, that's fascinating. And that chip shortage is felt everywhere. You know, I think Apple, now that I think about it, on Monday, Apple had an event, and you might have remembered that last week I was pretty confident in my expectation they would announce new laptops. They didn't. Even though I think they really meant to, because on YouTube, where they put the video of the keynote up, somebody made a mistake. You know, they put tags in like Apple and, iOS 15, which they talked about, Mac OS Monterey, but they also put in the tag M1X, which doesn't exist. That's what some thought might be the name of the next generation of Apple chips. And even MacBook Pro M1X. They thought, whoever wrote those tags thought, oh, they'll be announcing the new MacBook Pro. Clearly, they've got it. But I'm thinking that their plans to announce it, this would be a logical time to announce a laptop. This is when purchase decisions happen for kids going to college, going to high school in September. This is when people start thinking about that. So you want to get it out right now. It's almost now going to be too late. But I'm thinking they wanted to, but they couldn't because chip shortage. Chip shortage. Now, there's no shortage of Apple's own M1 chips because they bought up all the production of a big Taiwanese manufacturer. I don't think they're having problems with that. But remember, if your car has $600 worth of chips in it, more than 1,000 chips in it, just imagine what a MacBook has in it, right? There's other chips, too, that control all sorts of things. And I think even one little chip, maybe the chip that controls this display, if you couldn't get that, the whole thing would be up in smoke. And I think that's what happened. That's my guess. So for those of you, I said, wait, don't buy anything from Apple until after June 7th. Go ahead. Go ahead if you can get it. I don't know. Honestly, I just don't know what the plan is now. You don't want to introduce a laptop in July or August. They could. I mean, Apple can do whatever they want, obviously. Maybe they're going to scramble and have it out in a couple of weeks. That's completely possible, but I'm thinking now we're not going to hear about new hardware from Apple until September. So go ahead. If you need it, buy it. Nothing should slow you down. If you can find a car, buy it. Go right ahead. The house is coming down on big tech. This is all coming to a head. You might remember was it last year? I guess it was. All the executives of Google and Microsoft and Apple and Facebook all testified. Actually, Microsoft didn't go, I don't think, but everybody else testified in front of the House Antitrust Committee, the House Judiciary, after 16 months investigating the, quote, business tactics of companies like Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google. The House has issued 5 bills with bipartisan support to regulate the tech industry. This all came out on Friday. One bill would empower the Justice Department or the FTC to break up tech firms by forcing them to sell off parts of their business if there's a conflict of interest. Another bill bars companies from giving their own services preference over their rivals. Yet another bill blocks companies like Facebook from buying up little companies that might be competitors like, Instagram and WhatsApp. So that's the three that are maybe going to be a little controversial. The other two, last week the Senate already passed a measure, Senator Klobuchar's measure that would boost merger filing fees for large companies. That money goes to antitrust enforcers to investigate. So they're trying to beef up enforcement. A similar bill was introduced on Wednesday that would force platforms, Facebook, Apple platforms, to make data they collect interoperable. That's a fancy word the tech industry uses to mean I can read yours, you can read mine. Why is that important? Well, so you're not stuck. So if you go all in on Google, you can take it all and move it to another place, to Apple's iCloud or to Microsoft's OneDrive. Data portability, they call it. 5 bills. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, they got busy. 16 months of investigation. Now the other shoe drops. That'll be, we'll watch with interest. I have mixed feelings. On the one hand, the benefits of the tech industry have never been felt greater than during this pandemic, right? Imagine the pandemic if your kids couldn't go to school using Zoom or Google Classroom, or if you couldn't go to work remotely. Many people couldn't, lost their jobs. It could have been far worse. We owe a lot to tech, but at the same time, I understand people are afraid. Some of it is, they're too rich. They made too much money. I don't like that. They're too rich. Cut them down to size. But some of it is they're too powerful, and it is true if you think about it. My friend Amy Webb calls it the Big Nine because she includes some Chinese companies in this. In fact, she wrote a book called The Big Nine, the Tech Titans. This was actually a couple of years ago, but it was. Well, she's a futurist, so it was ahead of its time, right? Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Google. Those are the American ones. But then she throws in, and IBM. Then she throws in Alibaba, which is a Chinese company, and Baidu, and Tencent, which you might know as the owners of TikTok. So those 9 are really dominant in our society. They've really changed our society. My fear is I'm not sure if Congress has a sharp enough scalpel to really figure out what to do with them. I hope the patient survives the surgery, I guess I'm saying. Maybe it needs surgery. Maybe we do have a problem, but boy, I hope the patient survives the surgery. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. Let's talk high tech. Hello, Salmon Dog. Salmon.
Hello, Leo.
Good boy.
This is Daisy.
Hi, Daisy. Daisy's in the over-the-air updates room with you.
Yep.
That's cool.
Daisy, say hi to Leo.
Hi, Daisy. She's a German Shepherd, huh?
No, she's a corgi.
Oh, it's hard to tell without seeing the little legs. The face looks like a shepherd. Is there any shepherd in there? No.
No, she's a pure
corgi.
Pembroke.
I love corgis. They're so cute.
Yeah.
They're awesome. With their little legs, running.
Very good natured too.
Yeah. So
the bunnies have to watch out for her.
I know you heard me talk about that IEEE article. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that really puts it in perspective. Holy moly.
Yeah, and it's good that you came up with that because I actually wanted to talk about OTA updates and the cost of OTA updates.
Well, that's related, right? Because if you've got all those chips, you can't put them in there with millions of lines of code and not offer updates.
And offering those updates costs a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's a good subject. I like that. Good. So they dovetail, as a carpenter says. How are you, my friend? Everything going? Oh, is the Westminster Dog Show on? I love the Westminster Dog Show. Lisa and I watch that tonight.
Oh, is that this weekend?
Apparently. Scooter X has asked if you've been watching it. Lisa and I always watch it. And then Lisa goes, I want a dog. And then goes, can't have a dog. We got cats.
We don't have cable, so we just watch the highlights on YouTube after the fact.
Yeah, that's basically all cable does.
Yeah.
I can't remember where we watched it. Let me see who's going to be streaming that. Oh, they got some new breeds. Lyndhurst Mansion, Tarrytown, New York. Oh, I thought it was at Madison Square Garden. I guess they're not, they didn't cancel it, but they're not doing it. No audience, no venue.
Oh.
Oh, I say. It'll be broadcast Saturday and Sunday on Fox, FS1, FS2, and the Fox Sports app. Because it is sporting news.
But of course, you can only use the Fox Sports app
if you have all the others.
By cable.
That's right. So you're out of luck. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, dude. So
I'll get by with my real dog.
It'll be outdoors at the Lyndhurst Mansion in Tarrytown, New York for the first time. Streamed through the Westminster site, so you can watch it on their site. And there will be some new breeds. Doggo Argentino.
Oh, Beatles.
Hello, who's that speaking, please? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, it's Lady Kim Schaffer. Hello, Lady Schaffer.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well.
I think we should talk like this the entire
whole
show.
time. I don't know why I'm talking like this because I guess
the British invasion.
Oh, the British invasion. That's why. Yes, of course. Hello.
Hi.
How are you today? Good.
I'm good, but I'm still I'm so sympathetic to our poor caller from yesterday who
had a car accident.
No, that one too, but the homework, the Canvas.
Oh,
eating the
I feel
homework,
so
the Google
bad
and the Canvas eating the
for
homework.
that poor high school freshman. And we never really figured it out.
We didn't.
I had people email me say, well, he should have emailed himself a copy before submitting
He's
it.
15.
He didn't know that.
He didn't know that Google was going to eat his homework.
Who knew that? By the way, it makes an excellent excuse for
that Google ate my homework.
Google ate my homework. Wow. Yeah. I think there's no answer except, it was kind of some weird interaction between the software the school was using and Google.
The Canvas and the Google.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they're all going to blame back and forth.
They're going to blame him.
That's the way it is.
They're going to blame him. The teachers say, hey, I'm sorry. It was your job to get the homework in. I don't care if the computer ate it.
Yeah.
Nasty.
Anyway.
I feel for him too. And I feel for the poor caller who got in a wreck a week ago trying to dial our phone number. Anyway, it was a bad day yesterday. Let's have a good day. Who should I start with?
Well, Anne-Marie in LA needs help kind of child-proofing an iPad, making it safe for children.
Oh, yes. There are ways.
Yes.
Thank you, Kim Schaffer. Hello, Anne-Marie. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
And I thought I would call you because I need help for my granddaughter. She's 10, but she loves games. And when our system went down yesterday, she was so frustrated. But today she was, I guess, surfing the net. And I think she gets into YouTube deeper than she should.
Oh, yeah. YouTube's problematic. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. There's a lot of stuff I wouldn't want a 10-year-old, I wouldn't want to see, let alone a 10-year-old. There's no porn per se on it, but there's a lot of stuff that's a sketch. And a lot of stuff, sad to say, on YouTube that's aimed at 10-year-olds that is weird and not, something you would want to see. So
yes.
You can totally put parental, she's using an iPad, I take it.
An iPad and sometimes a phone.
Okay. So iOS has ways to do this, what they call parental controls, or grand parental controls in this case.
Well, it would be her parents, but what is iOS?
That's what's on the iPhone. That's the iPhone operating system. We call it iOS because geeks love acronyms. The iPhone operating system. And the iPad has iPadOS operating system. So all of this is in screen time. So what they want to do is go to settings on the iPhone, the iPad. This doesn't work on Windows. So if you have a PC there, you'll have to do other things to protect her from that. But,
okay.
I always suggest putting a PC in a public area so that if kids are doing I'm sure your granddaughter's wonderful and is not doing stuff. She's not doing bad stuff on purpose, but you don't want her to, poor little eyes, to be burned by the content on the internet. And there's all sorts of stuff on the internet.
I know. I saw a kooky guy on her screen once. I said, who is that? I don't know how she found it, but I did hear you say that you can limit them.
You can. You can. I don't know if you can have a filter that says no kooky guys on it. I don't think it's that good. But yeah, you can. So it all starts with going into screen time. You'll create your kids will create a parental passcode so that your granddaughter can't change it. And then it has all sorts of content restrictions, including YouTube. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. She can. There's YouTube Kids too. The problem is that she's right at that age where she's going to start to want to do her own thing. In the next couple of years. So
yes, she does.
Yeah, and so that's normal. And the problem I have on YouTube is not so much there's weird stuff. There's kids setting mattresses on fire for attention and stuff that you probably don't want to give your granddaughter any ideas, but it's not going to harm her. It's just disturbing for us adults to see it. And then there's another big problem with YouTube that YouTube has yet to figure out, which is it has a recommendation engine. And as she's watching, it'll autoplay the next video and the next and the next, and it'll slowly get more weird. Because the reason this is the computer, it's just a computer program, right, that's doing it. But it has been told by its masters what we want to optimize for is longer viewing times, right? That's what, that's good for YouTube. The more you watch, the more ads you'll see. So they want to optimize for viewing times. Now, network television did the same thing, but they didn't have the same feedback loop that Google has. Google knows because Google's watching her click, watching, how long she watches videos, when she goes to the next one, when she skips and all that, and slowly refines the recommendations. But they refine them with not the goal of giving her, more wonderful content, great for a 10-year-old mind, but with the idea to keeping her watching. So what it tends to do for everybody, not just her, but everybody, is make stuff more extreme. You know how the human brain, when you drive by an auto accident, you can't resist it, can you?
Yes.
Right. So the same thing on Google is the YouTube is constantly trying to keep her attention, and so it tends to get more extreme. And in some cases, she might look up a recipe for green beans, and then she gets vegetarian videos, and then gets vegan videos, and then gets PETA videos saying, let's go storm the castle and free all the chickens, and so you see how it gets slightly more extreme each time. And the same thing happens with politics and everything else. So that's the bigger, to me, that's the bigger risk because it's subtler. She knows she's watching some idiot light a mattress, that's not good behavior. That's stupid.
And she knows she's not supposed to. So her parents can go into settings
and screen time, and that's the setting they want, and that can control how much time she spends, what she does. It gives her all the parental permissions are there. YouTube has some as well. So but that's only necessary if you're not on an Apple device. If she only on Apple devices, Apple will handle all that.
She is.
Yeah, so Apple can handle that. Just look in the screen time settings.
Go into screen time again?
Screen time. And then there's, as they browse it, they'll see things like content and privacy restrictions. They'll see it can limit what you can buy on the App Store. You can actually say she can't load YouTube if you want. You could tell her which app she can run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's very nice. Apple has really done a good job. You can say prevent TV shows that are for mature audiences. You could say prevent books that are for mature audiences. You can do all sorts of stuff. It's got a very sophisticated tool. It's excellent. So,
okay, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I completely understand why you would want to do this, Anne-Marie. It's a good idea.
Okay.
And just understanding that as soon as she's 13, it's all over. She'll do whatever she wants.
No.
Yeah, but you know what? Let's protect their innocence as long as we can, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. She's too young for that.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Very curious. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, well, you want to encourage that, too. You want to encourage that questing mind. That's a good thing, too, right? So it's a fine line. It's a balance. Oh, here comes the low rider. Low riding in his car. His little mini Miata. Not exactly the image of a lowrider we usually think of. Sam Abuelsamid riding low in his Miata. He is our car guy, principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. He's got the great Wheel Bearings podcast. Wheelbearings.media joins us every week to talk about autos. So I was talking at the beginning of the show. I was just stunned by the number of chips in cars. And, of course, the consequence of that, well, there are several. One of the consequences is there's a real shortage of these chips, and so millions of cars won't get made this year because they can't. But there's another consequence. Sam wants to talk about that. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Leo. Yeah, so, I mean, we started putting chips in cars in the 1970s in response to the first wave of fuel economy and emission standards. We had to start putting electronic control systems on engines and other elements of the car in order to get better control of the fuel delivery. And over time, that's just continued to grow. We keep adding more and more features. Everything's controlled by a microcontroller or a larger processor. And each time we add a new feature, it has typically come from a supplier with the actuators for that system, the sensors, and an electronic control unit with a microcontroller and some software. And so now, even basic cars today, can have 30 to 40 ECUs scattered around the vehicle. And then, on the high-end cars now, things like the new Mercedes S-Class, you can have as many as 150 or more ECUs in the vehicle.
Wow.
And so traditionally, until relatively recently, most of those have not been updatable over the air. You'd have to take them in because of the way the systems were architected. You'd have to take it into a dealer to get something reflashed. In fact, in the old days, when I started my engineering career in the early 90s, working on ABS systems, we were using Intel 80C196 microcontrollers, which is basically, it was a variant of the original 8086 CPU from the original IBM PC. And those at that time, we didn't have flash memory, so the software we did for the ABS and early traction control systems was we would send that when it was finished. We would send that to Intel, and they would actually put it.
Burn it.
It was hard masked onto the die with the CPU.
Burn it burn it into the thing.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so it would never ever change over the life of the vehicle.
Wow.
Now, obviously, thanks to Tesla and others, that's changing, but the cost of that, with having all these ECUs and making changes, and there's a lot of code in there, as you mentioned. A lot of modern vehicles have over 100 million lines of code, and that's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, that's a ton. Lisa has, I think, a fairly modern vehicle, a year-old Chevy Bolt. It has to go into the dealer tomorrow for a firmware upgrade. So
Yeah.
why is that? I mean, I don't have to bring my laptop into Apple to have it updated.
Well, the way the electronic architecture on that Bolt and most vehicles built up until now is set up, it's not. It actually can do over-the-air updates, but the problem is the system doesn't have all the things it needs to protect, to make sure that it can't be manipulated, or so you don't want somebody overwriting your code.
So that raises another issue.
Done reliably.
Yeah, you don't want malware. And, as reliable as firmware upgrades on computers are, from time to time, We've all experienced
Things go
it.
wrong.
Things go wrong, and your phone is bricked or your laptop is bricked. You don't want your car to get bricked.
Exactly. And that has happened. I mean, we've heard reports, from Tesla owners. It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally it happens that you'll have an update that goes wrong and it gets bricked. But there's also, a huge cost associated with this. The change in the business model for the auto industry. The auto industry, over the last 130 years, is they design, build and sell vehicles to consumers, and then they forget about them. They move on to the next generation of the product, design the next generation. But now they have to actually support these vehicles over the life of the vehicle. And we recently published a cost consideration guide that we did with a company called Aurora Labs that is working on this problem of both security as well as doing OTA updates. And in the process of doing this, I figured out that the cost for a manufacturer, for an automaker that has a fleet of 10 million vehicles that need updates, some of these updates can be very large, like for your infotainment system, can be as much as 500 megabytes.
Wow.
You got 10 million vehicles on the year on the road.
Wow.
And you're updating them quarterly.
If I do the math, that's like a cajillion bytes.
It's about 22 terabytes or petabytes. Sorry, 22 petabytes.
People forget
to do a quarterly update
because we're always downloading, we're always surfing the web and stuff. There's a cost to this bandwidth. It's not free.
Yeah. So and that's over $100 million a year.
Oh.
That's just for one ECU.
Wow.
So one of the things that Aurora is working on is ways to, instead of reflashing the entire thing, like when you get oftentimes a system update for your phone, it'll reflash an entire image. Of the system software. So what they're doing is working on what they call incremental line of code updates. So it'll update individual lines of code within the ECU to really bring down that cost. But I mean, there's a huge cost, and then there's the cloud computing cost. And as you know, I mean, you've talked about the costs for cloud storage.
Yeah.
When you talked about
dropping,
CashFly,
but it's still expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. And that. That egress cost, to take the data out of the cloud and send it down. And on top of the bandwidth cost, you've got that cost, and then there's the cost of developing and testing all that software. So it's a huge expense. And this is
maybe it's not such a bad idea to bring it into the dealer a couple of times, or at least once a year. You're going to bring it in for maintenance anyway. To have them update the firmware there, sounds like it's a little better.
Yeah, I mean, some things you want to do OTA, in order to get them as quickly as possible. Things like security updates, you definitely want to push those out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, this is a recall from Chevy.
Yeah.
So
this is probably for your battery, I think.
Yeah, so
for your battery management system.
Fairly important. I get, I believe I get over-the-air updates on my Ford Mustang, the new electric Mustang, the Mach-E.
Yep. Yeah, the Mach-E is designed for OTA updates, and Ford, they had an investor day a couple of weeks ago where they talked about this idea of shifting to a model of having an always-on relationship with their customer. And Jim Farley, the CEO, said by the end of this year, they will have over 1 million vehicles on the road with OTA update capability.
Wow.
By 2028, Ford will have 33 million vehicles on the road with OTA capability.
So how do they absorb the cost? They're going to put ads in. They're going to sell marketing information. I'm sure Tesla's already doing this. Tesla is recording everything. There's a black box in your car that sends it back to the home office all the time. I bet you that's one of the ways they monetize this.
Yeah, and they'll be selling services. They'll do things. They're doing things like for parking. Having apps to help you find and pay for parking, and they'll take affiliate fees. From their relationships with that, they'll take a cut of that revenue. So there's all kinds of ways that you'll be paying in perpetuity for your cars.
It's kind of funny. I mean, my old Audi. My maps got out of date after a few years because, and I'm used to Google Maps, which is always up to date, right? So I guess that's another way to solve that is to let people use the map on their phone with Android Auto or CarPlay.
I mean, it's still getting paid for. I mean, Google is selling ads and doing things, to generate revenue.
I know Google is making money. I'm not worried about Google. Yeah. I suppose I shouldn't worry about Ford either. It's a little harder to put an ad blocker on your car, but hey, it's the modern world. I like the idea of over-the-air updates. I always liked it that my Tesla was
it's
getting new
great.
features.
But it's just just something to keep in mind. And one last item before we go. This week we will be recording episode 200 of Wheel Bearings.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything special? Champagne on the
we're gonna have a couple special guests on the show joining us and
wheelbearings.media.
by to chat.
Very nice. Sam Abuelsamid, thank you. Will they? Now that's another thing. Is after 5 years or 10 years they'll stop, right? You just like a laptop or a smartphone stops getting updates. You'll stop. getting car
it'll
updates.
probably slow down. It'll probably at some point it'll probably go to only security updates, security patches. And of course they'll still do things like for regulatory compliance. If there's
that's kind of interesting
safety issue.
Because we expect a car to run until the engine falls out through the rusty floor, but that's not going to be the case anymore. It's going to be more like phones and laptops where it's not safe to use them after a while. Wow.
Well, the cars are still going to run, 10, 15, 20 years or more. I mean, the average age of cars on the road today is 12 years. So, that's
I'm sure
this
Ford
is
would
why
like to
this
do
is an
something
issue
about that.
Everybody's trying to address.
Daisy.
Yeah.
Daisy alert. All right, all yours. 3 minutes, and you want to stick around to the top as well?
I'll just do this segment today.
Okay.
We want to head out to the lake for a while.
Always up to you, Sam.
All right. So let's see. Old gear. I'm in the market for a new car. I'd really like to get a new vehicle of 2010 design. Fewer computers, no DI, oil dilution, no turbo. Sorry, old gear. Well, there are a few. You can get something like an old Toyota Tundra, Toyota 4Runner. They're pretty old. They've been around for quite a while. There are a few vehicles out there, but there's not a lot of choices of older vehicle designs. Let's see what else. Let's see. In the future, you'll be required from Retcon 5. In the future, you'll be required to have a Starlink account to use your Tesla, Starlink Mobile. Probably not Starlink. That system's not really designed for anything that's moving. That's really designed for stationary applications. But you will definitely have some sort of always-on connection in your vehicles, and that's something that's becoming ubiquitous. Mike B, who's the dog? The dog is Daisy. This is my corgi. She's been sitting on my lap this whole time. Let's see. Even the dogs have chips. Yes, Daisy does have a chip. She is microchipped, and she is my co-pilot sometimes when I go out in the Miata. Let's see. From Irvine Bob, then the company will go bankrupt. No more updates. Yeah, so that is an issue if you're going to rely on updates for anything, whether it's your phone or your car. The company actually has to stick around and commit to doing those updates. And that's why I say, you will probably only get feature updates for maybe the first few years. And then after that, it'll slow down to things like map updates, regulatory compliance fixes, and security updates. And the other thing too is, most new cars, you get a few years of cellular connectivity that's bundled in with the price of the car. Then after that, you'll only get the updates typically over Wi-Fi unless you pay for a premium connectivity subscription like OnStar or Tesla's premium subscription. And this is one of the reasons why Tesla moved away from giving free premium connectivity for life with their vehicles. Now you only get very basic connectivity that updates a few things and allows you to unlock, do things like unlocking the car remotely, things like that. But if you want to get OTA updates over a cellular connection, you actually have to pay for a premium subscription. Maverick 56, I have a budget of $40,000 or $45,000. What's the best overall EV in the market right now? There's some good stuff out there. The VW ID4, the Mach-E is available in that price. The Chevy Bolt, the price of that is now down to $32,000 as the starting price. The Bolt EUV is starting at $35,000. It's
a good choice. I like my Bolt. Hey, got to run. Thank you, Sammy. Talk to you next week. Bye. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you today by Udacity. I love Udacity. Been a member since 2012. What's that now, 9 years? I joined them early on I loved the idea of the nano degrees. Founded by a former Googler, the idea was he noticed that the people they were getting out of, four-year colleges, even people with master's degrees, didn't really have the skill set that they needed at Google. Other big companies too. They need workers who really know how to get stuff done. And Udacity was born. These nano degrees are created in conjunction with some of the biggest companies in the world, Microsoft, Google, IBM, Amazon, and more. In fact, they're often taught by the team leads at those companies, because they know exactly what skills they need. And so you're going to learn really usable, practical skills, and you're going to learn them in a great way. Udacity offers it's not full-time, it's a part-time, it's fully online educational program. It's really aimed at people who want to get a job in tech or who want to take their skills and take them to the next level. They offer these nano degrees, which are valued by big companies in every area of tech, because they know these Udacity degrees are really rigorous, really good. And they have degrees in areas that you can't get. Frankly, four-year schools are slow to move. You can't get them often in a regular school. Things like AI, deep learning. They literally have courses in flying cars and autonomous flight. Wouldn't you like to be an autonomous flight engineer? I mean, talk about future looking, future forward. They've got an intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, robotics software engineer. That's one I'd really like to take. I've taken the Python courses. I want to kind of move on to the next level. They partner with the big companies to know what those companies need. They create up-to-date modern curriculum. And they're great for anybody who loves learning. And if you listen to our shows, I know you love tech. You can master the latest tech skills and techniques, not just watching the courses online, because it's very important. The homework involves projects as well. You've got to do the work. And I think that's so important. It's not just academic. You're not just learning, the concepts. You actually have to do the work. You'll have all your homework and projects will be reviewed by qualified professionals. You'll have real human feedback, code reviews, access to mentors 24/7. And it doesn't matter, it's perfect to do while you've got another job, because you could put in just as little as 5 to 10 hours a week, work at your own pace anytime you want, day or night, and graduate in as little as 3 months. This is a great time to get into tech. According to the World Economic Forum, about 75 million jobs are going to be replaced by automated processes in the next 3 years. Many of us are going to be out of work. Udacity is preparing for the students for the future, and that's important. So before your job is eliminated thanks to automation, time to get some skills for a job that will never be eliminated. Over 14 million people in over 240 countries use Udacity. You can check it all out at udacity.com. They have flexible payment options. They have free courses. There's support courses and things like polishing your GitHub page or your LinkedIn resumes. Marketing, there's a lot of soft skills too. Stuff you need to know, frankly. Learn at your own pace. And by the way, Udacity also has an enterprise product. So if you run a team and this team needs to work on their skills, or you want them to gain skills for the next generation and the next level, things like data science and AI and cybersecurity, you're really going to want to find out about Udacity for Enterprise. You can upskill your entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. I say that again and again because that's what's different about Udacity. Real-world project-based learning. You come out of Udacity and you know your stuff. You're good. You're good at it, and you know you're good at it. You know you can do it. So if you're a team leader, you need to master cutting-edge technologies. Check out the enterprise section of Udacity's website today. If you're an individual and you want to get those in-demand skills that can lead to a brand new career or a better job, visit udacity.com/twit. We've got an amazing offer, but it's running out fast. You can get right now 75% off any program with the code TWIT75. Okay, I want you to use that for two reasons. One, I want you to get 75% off, but I also want them to know you saw it on the Tech Guy. So this offer is up on June 30th. If you're seeing this after June 30th, still check out udacity.com/twit. I'm sure they'll have other good offers, but I don't know if they'll ever have an offer this good. So if you're hearing this now, before June 30th, go right now, udacity.com/twit. Just take a look at the courses. If you'll find something that makes you go, yeah, I want to learn that. With any luck, you'll find a nano degree that goes, yeah, I want those skills. 75% off right now. Udacity.com/twit. And again, TWiT75 is the offer code. TWiT75, like 75% off. Udacity.com/twit. Thank you, Udacity, for supporting the Tech Guy podcast. Now back to the show we go. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number. David on the line from Redondo Beach, California. Hi, David.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you, David?
Doing great here in lovely Redondo Beach. So you and I have talked before. I'm the laptop elf.
Oh, yes.
My question is actually more for myself and for the folks I help out with their tech. So I follow your suggestion, your rule on the 3-2-1 backup.
Yes, good.
I always recommend that to folks.
Yep.
But I have about 10 gigabytes of Gmails with attachments. And other than Google Takeout, which I don't think gives me all of that data, including the attachments.
It does.
I don't really have a way to back it up.
It does, but that's a ton. So there are cross system backups. So first of all, let's explain. Takeout.google.com has been around practically as long as Google's been around. And this is where Google is really at the forefront. You know, I was talking at the beginning of the hour about Congress and the Data Portability Act, which they have introduced. The idea that your data should be movable from one service to the other with ease so that you're not stuck. You're not in a roach motel. And Google, thanks primarily to a really great engineer at Google, Fitz, decided very early on to make this possible with something called Takeout, and it's takeout.google.com. The problem is it doesn't answer the real issue of interoperability, because ideally it would be export your data so that Apple's iCloud could suck it up, or export your data so that iDrive could suck it up, or OneDrive, or, that would be real portability. What Google does is they export the data in a weird kind of format. They're all zip files, and there's JSON, which is descriptive text, and then there's the actual data. But everything all your Gmail should be exportable, including attachments. I actually haven't verified that, but it's my belief that that's the case. The problem is it's not exported in a format that you could just say, okay, now import this Yahoo Mail. It's more like it's a big blob you're going to put on your computer and search, that kind of thing. And so I would love seeing, maybe Congress will fix this. I would love seeing kind of some sort of more interoperable thing. However, there are companies that offer Google backup, basically. There used to be a lot more of these, but the idea is something that will attach to your Gmail and then back it up to a different cloud. And that's really kind of what you want. I used to use a company called Backupify. I don't know if they're still around. That was a really good way to do it. So check out Backupify. That's the only one that I have used. It is possible to download all your mail from Gmail. Gmail rate limits it so you can't get all of it at once. But each day you can slowly download a little bit more of it. Let's see. I guess Backupify is maybe now gotten a little high end. But there are other companies that do this. Spin Backup, UpSafe, Cloud HQ. Cloud HQ does real-time transfer between Gmail and Box, OneDrive, Evernote, Google Drive, Amazon's S3, and Sugarsync. So that's quite a few of them. Sugarsync is another really good one for this. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put an article ZDNet published earlier this year, The Ultimate Guide to Gmail Backup, where this is a little more up-to-date than my knowledge of this is, because, as I said, I used Backupify, but they seem to have gone upmarket. In other words, they're not free anymore. But I'll put that article in the show notes, and you can pick one of those services. So, and the idea there is you sign up for the service, you give it your Google credentials, and it starts transferring stuff over. That's probably what you want to do. Otherwise, you can always do it for free. You can download Takeout. 10 gigabytes will take a while, but you could do it. And then you can use iDrive or any other solution to back that up. But it's not going to be a great format for your use. It'll just be all your content. The attachments will all be in separate folders and stuff. You'll be able to find them if you do a search. Will that serve the purpose, David?
So that would be a great way to do a static one-time backup.
Right.
Is there a way that I can run parallel? So
yes.
I've got all my Gmails.
Yes.
Okay, good. What would you suggest?
That's kind of what I did, because I moved off Gmail some time ago to a paid service. I'm going to say it again. It's my new crusade. If email's so important to you folks, why don't you pay for it? We act as if it should be free, but it's important. So should it be free? So I pay for a service called Fastmail. And what you can easily do with any other service, including free services like Outlook and Yahoo Mail, is you can have it automatically download everything from Gmail over a period of time. And as I said, you can even go back in time and get everything from Gmail. It's just that Gmail won't let you do it all at once. It'll take maybe months, depending. Sounds like you've got at least 10 years of mail on there. So over a period of time, it will get it. But it will eventually get it all. And that's what I did when I moved to Fastmail. I said, Fastmail, I want that Gmail database. So go out and get it. And it's using, traditional IMAP. It's a standard email. Email is interoperable. It is what Congress wanted everybody to do, in the sense that one email service can go to another one and say, give me your mail. Just like you do right now when you use a mail program on your computer. It says, give me the mail. And so you can actually download all the Gmail in a mail format. It just will take time.
So Fastmail sounds great. I'll look into that. So one more quick related question. What about Google Photos? Do you think that the Google takeout of Google Photos is going to give me something where I have all of my original quality? I'm paying for original quality.
Yes.
I have all of my original quality.
It will.
Photos.
So I've done that. I just, out of curiosity, I downloaded my entire Google Photos. Right when they announced that they were going to start charging, I got scared and I downloaded it all. And it comes in blobs. The JPEGs are there. If they're RAW files, they'll be there. Videos are there. But it doesn't come. But unfortunately, the names are munged up. So the name of the file isn't the name of the original file. It's got its own naming, and it explains. It kind of indexes all that in the JSON files. So you're going to need a tool to take the photo and rename it. What I did is I used a batch file to rename it to the date of the file of the original, because that's in the Exif data, the metadata of the photo. So I renamed the file to the date, and I even organized it. It was actually a great little script I wrote to actually put it into folders, so by year, month, and day, so that it was all organized properly. And it worked pretty well. The tool I used is called Exif Tool, EXIFTOOL. And it will work with almost any format of photos, including RAW. And it's a command line tool, and it requires, you're going to take some time to learn it. But you're the laptop elf. You can do this.
There you go.
I'll tell you what, I've been nervous about posting this script because it's so tuned to my particular situation. I don't want somebody to run it and lose all their photos. So I'll have to think about how I can post it. But if you look at the documentation for Exif Tool, it's free. It's a command line tool. You run it. It's, I think, a bunch of Perl scripts. And you run it, and it can do all sorts of stuff, including rename those files and organize those files. So, yes, the Google takeout on photos works, and it works well. I have done that. It's actually, again, Google deserves some credit. They've come up with a good solution. By the way, if you want to know more about Laptop Elf, this is a really great project that David does in Redondo Beach to refurbish old laptops, give them to the needy. Just Google Laptop Elf. You'll find David's work. There's lots of articles. KTLA, Rich DeMuro did a story on him, and so forth. So nice to talk to you. Thanks for the work you do. It's really great. Let me see. I'll show you Exif Tool. I'm always nervous about posting scripts because I don't write them to be safe. I guess is the best way of putting it. Phil Harvey, that's the guy's name. And it is very old school. It is very old school. It's just a bunch of Perl scripts, but he keeps them up to date. Look, he's updated it. He just updated the other day. But it's command line, and you got to kind of know what you're doing. But the thing is, I did a lot of experimenting and played with it until I got it exactly the way I wanted it. This is a 3-step Exif Tool. This will just give you an idea. I mean, really, it's like FFmpeg, where you really want to learn the syntax if you're going to use it. Change file, create and modify dates to Exif capture time. So that's another problem with the Google takeout. The date of the file is going to be the date you did it. So fortunately, Exif, the extended information in almost all photo formats, contains, certainly in all of mine, a capture time. So I can have the create and modify dates on my file to be the day I took the picture. That's nice. And you see Exif Tool has some nice long switches. So Exif Tool, file create date should be the date time of the original. File modify date should be date time of the original. Actually, this is not a complete script because the $1 comes from a for loop. This is within a for loop. And then rename file to match your capture date. So you take the create date and you make that the file name. And then this is the formatting. So I have my first name. It says Leo. Then there's a dash. And then there's a year, month, date, hour, minutes, and seconds of the capture date. And then this %% LE is the actual file extension because it wasn't just JPEGs, it were RAWs and stuff. And I didn't want to mung the extension. I can't remember what -C means. And then move file into folder. And this was great because this said, basically I created a hierarchy of folders, year, month, and day, and moved all my files. So this script, it's missing the, for files in, or whatever it is actually, it's for, well, I don't want to write the loop on, but I'll, just think of $1 as the file you're working on. You need to loop through all the files, right? So I'll paste this into somewhere. I don't know where I'll paste it. I'll paste it into the Discord for sure. Anyway, it gives you a start. And then, yeah, it's arg0. So, oh, you know what? That's probably what it was. You're right. I'm sorry. That's probably what it was. The loop is outside this. This is a little script that I use in a loop to call it. That's exactly right, Retcon. So this actually is complete, but what you're missing is the outer loop that calls it, which is probably a fish function, I would guess, because I use fish. And that's why I have to do the shebang of user bin sh, because fish has different syntax for this stuff, although it probably would have worked in fish. Yeah, so I have that's what I did is I had a fish function which called this little script. Let me paste this into chat as well. I don't know what chat's going to do with it. Chat's not going to be happy. Yeah, well, there it is. You can do with it as you choose. I'm sorry about that. Don't ban me, please. It at least gives you a starting point. And you can see Exif Tool has a fairly rational, well, that's not strictly true because you can see there's the -C and the -LE, %% LE and all that stuff. You have to experiment with it. These are all formatting commands. Oh, good. I'm glad. I can't be banned. Good news. our favorite serial killer is back. Is that Dexter? It's the only serial killer I know. Let me get this is also the URL for Exif Tool, which of course you need. Really, what I would recommend is you do your own thing. Don't copy my script because you need to understand it. So use my script as like an example of how you might do it. I do not own this server, nor am I a founder. So I'm just a regular guy here. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, Perl scripts, exporting from Google Docs, all of that, Google Photos. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. There was a guy many years ago that he was a computer genius, computer designer, and his name was George Morrow, and he was kind of a legend in the business. He made a computer to compete with the Osborne, which I know none of you know what Osborne is. He was the guy who invented the S100 bus. Nobody remembers that either. High school dropout. At the age of 28, he got his GED and then got a degree in physics from Stanford, a master's in mathematics from the University of Oklahoma. He was getting his PhD in mathematics at Cal Berkeley when he became fascinated by computers in the early 70s. Anyways, quite a legend. He created a computer business and was kind of an amazing guy. He's long gone. He's passed away about 2003. But George Morrow had a saying. He said, if you want to use some software, you should write it yourself. Now, if you've got a PhD in mathematics from University of California, Berkeley, you probably could. I don't think these days that's a practical point of view, but I understand what he was saying, which is, you should know how to use a computer well enough that you can write it yourself. And in those days, in the early days of computing, that was not an unreasonable point of view. It's gotten a little complicated these days. I don't think there's anybody, however good a programmer, who can write his own software for everything he does. Almost everybody's using other people's software. That's just the nature of it. It's all very interdependent. But I still, in the back of my head, kind of honor and like that notion that there's some times where, you just got to scratch your own itch. It's why it's kind of nice if you want to use computers. It's kind of nice to be able to code a little bit. Now, I know most people are never going to learn how to code. It is quite a discipline. It's kind of like saying everybody should know calculus and trigonometry. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. But when I was talking with the laptop elf last hour, I started talking about how he could take the export from Google Photos and make something useful out of it. And I realized, in effect, what I was telling him is you got to write your own little program to do it. And I love it that I can do that. But it also means that for 99.9% of the world, when you've got your photos on Google Photos and you're trying to put it somewhere else, you're going to have to rely on somebody else to make it usable, to make the translation. There's just no way. And that's why I'm glad Congress is addressing this idea of, again, the term is a little geeky, interoperability, the ability of different companies to create data in such a way that you can take it with you, that it's portable, that my photos in Google Photos I can download and put up on Flickr, and that's fine. And the more portable this stuff is, the better it is for us as users. But of course, the problem is, and the reason Congress has to make a law is, it's not desirable for these companies. They love the idea of you're stuck. It's Hotel California, baby. You could check in, but you just can't check out. You use Apple for everything. Everything works better, but don't you dare try to move anywhere else. It's just not going to happen. Not going to work. We're not going to help you. So they're going to have to be forced to do that. And I think they should. I mean, that's Congress has done this before with HIPAA. The idea to make your health information portable. I mean, I think doctors and hospitals maybe are a little bit more open to that idea than Google, Microsoft, and Apple, but still, it's an important thing. It's your information. You should be able to take it with you. Companies act like it's their stuff. It's not. It's yours. So it's a shame that you have to, download some tools and write some command line batch files and things just to get your data in a format that you can get it into. I like it that I know how to do that. I'd encourage people who have the slightest inclination to learn a little bit. And then, I think both Microsoft and Apple are moving in the direction of making coding more accessible. And that's purely out of self-interest, by the way. It's not because they want you to be able to take your data from one and move it to the other. It's not. They want you to learn how to code because they can't find enough coders to keep the enterprise afloat. They've got to do their own training. This week, Apple announced a new feature on the iPad that's, I think, great. They have a wonderful little program called Swift Playground. Swift is the programming language Apple prefers and likes to use, and they want everybody to learn because if you start now, maybe in about 10 years, you'll be good enough we can hire you. And gosh knows we need more engineers, says Apple. So they make the Swift Playgrounds, and they announced this week that you can actually even write your own iOS apps in Swift Playgrounds as soon as iOS 15 comes out. Or I guess it's iPad OS, but this is huge. And it's what we call in the biz a low-code, no-code environment. In other words, you don't have to really do a lot of typing. You don't have to write a lot of computer language stuff. You can drag and drop and do a lot of it without actually typing. That makes sense. It's the iPad. You don't want to do a lot of typing on the iPad. Microsoft has a similar thing. They're pitching it more to business. They talked a lot about that at their developer conference a couple of weeks ago at Build. These low-code, no-code environments, businesses like too, because businesses are just like you and me. They don't like it that they have to hire programmers to do some basic things. And so Microsoft is creating ways for you to do that. Everybody is these days. Microsoft calls it their power platform because it gives you power. But it's really intended for business apps, unfortunately. I'd love to see Microsoft do something along that line for regular people. We always thought in the early days of computing, we always, people like George Morrow had always thought at some point, the computer will get smart enough that the user will just be able to say, here's what I want to do, write the code. But we're not there yet. You still have to find something on the shelf that fits. Somebody else wrote. You got to find it in the App Store, and you got to download it, install it, and hope that it kind of comes close to what you want. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but many of the questions we get on the show are from people who want to do something and don't know what is that app that is going to do that. That's almost all of them. Boy, it'd be nice if you could just say, well, this is what I want to do. Computer, yes. Please download all my photos from Google Photos and organize them into year, month, and day. And oh, by the way, change the file name to my name plus the date the photo was taken. On it. That day is far off, I'm afraid. But they're working on it. Meantime, maybe go down to that community college and take that Python course. Might not be a bad idea. 8888 Ask Leo, if you've got a young person who has the slightest interest in technology, writing software is actually really fun. It really is. Not unless you're using Java. But if you're writing in any that's an inside joke. If you're writing it, Python's a good choice. I'm a Lisp fan myself, but I wouldn't subject people to that. But get them to take the high school course, learning to code. Usually they do, unfortunately, teach them Java or something worse like JavaScript. But anything you learn, it's going to help. It just helps. It helps you understand how these things work. So it kind of demystifies the magic inside the box. And with any luck, if you've got a knack for it, you're going to be able to do your own thing, and you don't have to wait till somebody puts it up on the shelf with a nice, pretty label for you to buy. I have your email, Mr. Marquardt.
Wonderful.
Yes, and we shall do what you would like to do. Alphabet.
I want to talk about the heat.
Alphabet, right?
Letters.
Letters, not alphabet. Letters.
Let me check what the official tag is.
Actually, that's a good question. Is it hot in the...
.com/group/ no, it's alphabet.
It is alphabet. Okay.
TG alphabet. There we are.
Is it hot
and
in the Viewfinder Villa? Has it heated up?
It is. It's getting hot. It's getting next midweek. We're looking at the mid to high 90s.
Yikes!
Yikes!
We're looking for that too next week. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, and the pictures are not like in direct relation to the exact stuff I'm going to talk to. So just use them as a slideshow. It's just hot places,
hot
deserts and stuff. It's just nice photos to look at while we talk.
Yes, they are hot. 90s. Wow. Thank you for translating it into American.
I've spent enough time in the States.
What is that? 40s?
That's 35-ish.
35 and up. I know if it's 40, it's really hot.
Yeah, no, it's not going to be quite that, but I've heard 35 and beyond.
To do this. Hey, what is 85 degrees in... Oh, see, she didn't wake up. Hey, what is 85 degrees in Celsius? See if she knows. And she just went back to sleep. She said, I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care. That's how I do it.
Hold on. What is 85 Fahrenheit in Celsius? It is 29.4.
That's what we had, 29.4.
That's warm enough. That's plenty.
By the way, that's the first program a lot of these no-code tools do. In fact, I think in the Swift Playgrounds, that's the first program is a Fahrenheit to Celsius converter because it's so easy.
Simple enough.
Yeah, then you can have a window, or rather a line that asks for the temperature, and then a button that says convert, and then a little control that says the Celsius. Fahrenheit is an insult to human dignity, says Pele.
I'm not going to comment on that.
There's a lot of humor in Andy Weir's newest project, Hail Mary. There's a lot of metric humor. Because in some cases, he quotes both metric and imperial measurements in the same sentence. And he says, I hate being an American. All right, we'll talk in a few. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. I try to have soul. I try. Joe on the line from Burlington, New Jersey. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Leo.
Hello.
My wife and I are in our 70s, and we're working on a project with the 5 kids to put our family history together.
Oh, that's a great project. You know what? We count on our elders to do that, right? Because when you're in your youth, by which I mean anything under 60, you don't care about this stuff. But as soon as you get a little older, you start to think about your legacy, your kids, and it's good. Thank you. I had my great aunt Ginny did all of that for our family. And now that I'm in my 60s, I'm eternally grateful. So good job.
So I've been listening to your program about digitizing pictures and so forth.
Yeah.
My challenge is I have about 50 Zip 100 discs. I surfed your internet, and I got all excited because I saw a video of you and Dickie D playing with the one you found in your garage.
Yeah. But that was about 20 years ago or something.
June 1st, 2010.
2010. Okay, 10 years ago then.
That was brown.
So these zips, nothing ages faster than a file format or computer format. They just, At the time, we loved zip disks, right? 100 megabytes on a floppy, basically. And then they went up from there. I think they even got bigger. So here's the problem.
Let me pose my question first.
Sure.
You had a USB to USB cable,
right?
And you were able to read your files. I have a parallel port cable on the back of my 100.
Okay.
And I bought a.
So you have a zip drive. That's actually very good news. Is you have a zip drive. That's a good start.
Really?
Yeah, because they're. I guess you could still get them, but they're buying them used on eBay and things like that. So you have a parallel port one. That was the original one.
My laptop.
Yeah. So you need a parallel to USB converter, and those things do in fact exist. Thank goodness. It's going to take some it's not going to be as cheap as just a different kind of cable, because it has to convert the parallel signal into a serial signal. But actually, now I'm looking at them on Amazon. They're not horribly expensive. So there are a couple of tricks. One is you got to get one that has the right kind of connector. If you have a parallel zip drive, it's probably got that weird looking. It's not a square. It's kind of I don't even know. Trapezoid. Thank you. You're a scientist, my friend. That's good, or at least a geometrist. It's a trapezoidal thing, and yours is an innie, as I remember, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you need to get an Audi on the parallel end, and you'll see that there are two different kinds of Audis. One with actual pins, and one that looks kind of like it's got connectors all the way around a central kind of post. And I think that's the kind you need. That's called the IEEE 1284 interface. Thank you to the International Association of Electronics Engineers and Electronic guys. That's the IEEE. Add it again. And then you need something, and then you can get one that converts it to USB, which you can then connect to any modern computer. And actually, it looks like they're not that expensive.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're like $10, $15, believe it or not. I find this hard to believe. I have not tried these, but at least they're cheap enough to get one. Just get the one that has the right connector for the back of your zip drive. And then the problem is going to be, does the zip drive show up as a mass storage device?
Well, on my Asus laptop computer, it could see that I had a device, but it didn't recognize it as a drive.
Yeah, that's going to be the bigger problem than the physical connection. Beware, by the way, a lot of these parallel to USB are for printers, and that's not what you need. That doesn't have all the pins that you need. So this is kind of a tricky issue. So you've got the hardware issue of getting the right cable, and then I wonder if anybody makes a zip drive driver. Is it for a Mac or a PC?
It's Windows 10.
Let me just see if, I wouldn't be surprised if some hobbyist, this is again that case of somebody, a George Morrow type, who's going to write a open source zip disk driver. Okay, maybe this is possible. So here is a post that I found on the Microsoft community. iOmega zip drive on Windows 10. Apparently, you can get it working now. So you've got it connected up already. You were able to connect up, but it didn't see it as a drive.
Right. It recognized that there was a device there, but it wouldn't see it as a drive.
So,
but I probably bought the printer cable instead of a
could be
a bidirectional.
Could be. So that's the first problem. But if you can get the right cable, I'm posting on the show notes this guy who says here's how I got it working. You go into Device Manager, disk drives. You'll see the iOmega device listed there. One hopes. Open that up. And in the Policies tab, You want to check better performance under removal policy. Enable write cache. I know you're not going to remember this, but that's why I put it on the show notes. Enable write caching under the write caching policy and turn off Windows write cache buffer. He says, then it works. But you're right. You need a bidirectional cable for sure. So you're going to have to get the right hardware. And maybe you don't need a driver. Maybe it will, with the right cable, look like a standard mass storage device. Does it show up as USB drive once you connect it?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's it.
Yeah, but you can't actually see the data that's on there. Yeah. Apparently the problem is Windows 10. XP could do it. Because when XP was out, there still were zip disks. And by the way, that's probably what I was using way back in 2010 was Windows XP. So I'm looking, it looks like people are able to figure it out that you may not need a driver, but you will certainly need a bidirectional cable. So that's the first thing to look for with the right connector on it. And then it looks like you can actually read it once you get it mounted with the right settings. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Wow, that's a really interesting conundrum, because you want to copy all that stuff out for sure.
The material still exists.
Yeah. Well, that's the other problem. There, like any floppy style disk, which this basically is, it's gonna flake off after a while. So if you could find, the best way to do this would be find an old laptop with a parallel port. Because it would probably still be running XP, which actually works. But if you can get the right USB cable, and I think you can then read it. You just have to help Windows 10 a little bit. So I put a link. We'll put a link in the show notes to that article.
All right. Yeah, I was using it with my old HP desktop computer, but the spin drive took a dive, and I don't want to go buy a new drive for a really old desktop.
No, of course not. So you have a bunch of family photos on these zip disks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And you thought at the time, I'm sure, oh, this is a great thing to put them on. It'll be around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing has a shorter shelf life than computer hardware technologies. So chat room has a bunch of links. It looks like what you really need is an adapter that will make that cable bidirectional, or a properly wired cable. Because I think that it sounds like with a little coercion, Windows 10 will read it. And then, of course, once you get it off the zip disks, you're good. So there's no reason to spend a lot of money on this.
Well, then I can put it in my iDrive.
Exactly. Yes. That's actually one advantage of the cloud is you can let them worry about the hardware and the formatting, because it's just supposed to be visible to you over the internet. So you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And if you put it somewhere where, the company's going to be around for a while, you're golden. It's a good idea probably to put it two places, just in case.
Well, I was going to put everything in Google Photos, and then
that's a great idea.
Pull my kids to into that site so they can all see it.
Yeah, that's exactly. If you want it, they can get prints there. Another place that'll do this is Shutterfly. One of the things about Shutterfly that's cool, they have free storage because they make money printing them. So you could say to the kids, they're all on Shutterfly. If you want prints, it's on you, buddy.
Yeah,
we did that. We had a bunch of Kodak carousels, and my sister got them all digitized, and we shared it with everybody. It's really nice to have, really, really nice. So it's a good thing to do, Joe. I'm glad you're doing that.
The one picture I wanted to recapture was we used to live in San Ramon, and I got pictures of Mount Diablo burning. Oh wow! When was that? Back in the late 70s. Yeah. See, we think these fires are something new. No. They've always been fires. Hey, Joe, thank you. Good to talk to you. Absolutely. Take care. Take care. Burlington, New Jersey, the home of the Burlington Coat Factory. Mama, don't take my Kodachrome. Leave. It's time for the photo guy. Chris Marquardt, our photo expert, my personal photo sensei. His website, sensei.photo, SENSEI.photo, where he teaches all his acolytes how to take better photos. He teaches us each week as well. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Or
I'm doing good. How are you?
Should I? Oh, no, I already forgot it. I was going to say the German greeting, and I've already forgotten.
Moin.
Moin, moin. Moin, moin.
Moin, moin. There you are.
There we go. So today we're going to talk about hot photos.
Well, sort of. So here's the thing. I've spent quite some time in very hot places, like in the Danakil Desert in Ethiopia, and in Dalol, which is kind of the hottest ever inhabited place in the world. And doing photography there is a bit of a challenge. You have to think of a few things. Now, I've just looked at the weather forecast, and we expect temperatures here mid next week in the mid to high 90s, which again is very hot. So I just like to talk about taking photos in the heat. Maybe you live somewhere in the desert. Maybe you're near any one of these really hot places, or maybe it just gets hot every now and then. Like I think you told me that in Petaluma it's gonna
be in the 90s
this week.
97, I think, something like that. Yeah.
So when shooting in very hot places, and let's take the desert as an example, bring water and sunscreen. I mean, of course, you want to protect
Don't just wander
first.
out in the desert saying, I'm a photographer. I can go anywhere.
But then, the thing is, cameras do have a range in which they work, and usually they have a cold temperature, hot temperature that is specified somewhere in the tech data. I've often gone over that in both directions without too much penalty.
What camera do you use? You use a fancy camera.
These are fancy cameras, but even your handheld camera, your smartphone has a temperature rating in which it's supposed to work. And I've gone like slightly over, slightly under, and I personally have never really found that they would break. But cameras can overheat. It's definitely a possibility,
especially when they're shooting video.
Yep, that's exactly the thing. There's I'm not going to name any brands here, but there's at least one or two that in the past have had issues with their cameras overheating when shooting video. So I'd suggest, and the one of the issues is with cameras is at least many of them are black. And a black camera with direct sunlight
absorbs the sun
out in the heat. It heats up really quickly. So I'll always try to keep the cameras somewhat in the shade, maybe under a jacket or in a backpack that is somewhat protective, and take them out for the photography. I'm normally a fan of having the camera in my hand all the time because I don't want to miss the shot. But sometimes, especially in these conditions, I'd rather have a little bit of work to get to the camera rather than having the camera out and it not working, right? So a good way around some of these issues is knowing when the hottest time of the day is, because that is not necessarily the best time to take your photos. We are normally looking at noon. The sun is high at noontime, but the actual heat will rise towards the evening. So we're looking 4 or 5 p.m. when it's kind of getting really hot outside. So
there's another kind of heat you want to be careful about. Lava. Here's a picture from your gallery that we'll post on the show notes. But this is a picture of red hot lava.
That is direct heat, and we're talking heat in excess of like the actual lava in excess of like 1,000 degrees. Yeah. So you kind of want to be careful there. That is radiating heat that will, if you get too close, melt things. I've seen video of the Icelandic volcano that is still spewing lava in the air, and there was some drone videos where videographers actually lost their drones because they melted because they flew too close. So they were lucky to have the footage kind of streamed to their devices and recorded it there. So sometimes that might be worth it, but for a good time, sunrise, sunset time is usually not that hot in these places. Still, even in the really hot places, and you get the
better
really
pictures.
Good photos around
the light is better.
So
the golden hour.
That is another thing in these hot places. Hot often coincides with dust and sand, especially in the desert. Yeah. Little tip there: don't change your lenses when you're outside.
Oh, because the dust will get in. Yes,
I try to do this in the car. If you have to, well, turn your back against the wind, cover it, and like shield it. But in general, I've had sand everywhere inside my cameras. After a trip to Morocco, in the Sahara, there was sand everywhere.
What do you do to get the specks of dust off the lenses? Because that especially the inside or on the sensors.
The
really
lenses are not the problem. The sensor is the problem. Yeah. Find a not so dusty place and get one of these bulbs that you can blow onto it. That is kind of helpful. The one thing that I will do after a trip like that, well, if it's not too bad, I will clone it out in post-processing, like in Lightroom, for example. You can just clone those specs out. And after the trip, I will actually get my camera to someone to do a CLA, a clean, loop, and adjust, which is pretty much a professional opening it up and removing the dust.
Does the manufacturer have to do that?
Not necessarily. There are shops that do that. It helps to have a camera that is a bit better sealed. So in Morocco on a photo tour, we actually had a couple of cameras develop weird symptoms that some buttons wouldn't work anymore because sand got in. But those were like cheaper cameras that weren't sealed. But if you have something, even a smartphone nowadays, if it's water proof or at least splash proof, that is sealed. So
and you better hope so, because you
shouldn't be a big problem.
You can't blow a little air on the sensor in a smartphone. I don't think you can get anywhere near the sensor in a smartphone.
Very true.
Do you not recommend compressed air, the canned air?
Not for the sensor, because those compressed airs have propellant in them, and if you turn the can in a weird way, you might actually sputter some of that propellant onto the sensor, and that might not be the best thing for the sensor. So compressed air in a can, I'd rather not. Some of those bulbs that you squeeze together have an air intake in the back that has a filter that actually makes sure that you blow filtered air onto your sensor.
I've also seen, and I used to carry them around, although I was always too afraid to use them, little pens with pads on them that are for cleaning sensors.
They are good for dust. If you have like actual sand specks on them, you might be rubbing a grain of sand around. But those lens pens, they're called lens pens, are really great for dust. They actually work quite well. But I'd be careful with sand and abrasive
I like
stuff.
the idea of bringing it in for cleaning. How much does that cost?
Yeah, depending on the shop. If it's the shop you bought it from, they might even give it to you for free.
Something you should probably do every few years anyway, right? Dust gets in.
Yep.
If you have interchangeable lenses on a camera, you're opening it up. The sensor's right there, especially on these new mirrorless cameras. It's just sitting right out there. So
unless you're a bit more adventurous, then there's tools out there that you can buy to clean the sensor, and not too hard.
Not that adventurous. Oh, here's some actual lava from Iceland, that Icelandic eruption a couple of months ago. That
might be one of the pilots who lost their drone to the volcano. I'm not sure, but
there's one where he flew the drone into the lava flow, the eruption, and it melted. And it's kind of you could find it on YouTube. It's a great video because he gets right up close and then it stops.
Yes.
Chris Marquardt, I'll tell you what our photo assignment is when we come back. Everybody should check out Chris's work. He's our photo sensei at sensei.photo. Thank you, Chris. It's great to have you.
Thanks, Leo.
Oh, this lava's great. Wow. Wow, look at that. Oh, man. Yeah, that you probably should have something for your camera to protect it.
Well, if you get the shot of your lifetime, then maybe a few $100 for a drone is worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah.
Even with the newer DJIs, you get like a 1080p video stream to you.
I know. I think that's what he was doing, was streaming.
It's usable.
Yeah.
Quite usable.
Yeah, and so we have the stream. Yeah. Wow. Nice.
Leo, if you remind people of the assignment. I've just created a post on the Flickr group where people can kind of organize around the alphabet assignment.
Excellent. So yeah, because we
just
have
as a little
special
help because we
thing
don't have
do.
a lot right now.
Yeah,
we need a few more.
Yeah, I will put it. I will spend some time with it when we come back. I have it right here.
Awesome, cool.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great week. Stay cool.
Thank you, Leo.
We'll see you next time.
Working on it. See you in a week.
Bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris Marquardt every month does a little photo assignment. It's not a competition, just an excuse to go out and take pictures. Now, this one's a little complicated this month. We did all the letters of the alphabet in order, A through Z, and now the last assignment from the alphabet is the alphabet assignment. It's a little complicated, so I'm going to send you to our Flickr group for instructions. Essentially, we want you to go out and take pictures of letters of the alphabet as they appear in nature. And Chris is really hoping to get the whole alphabet. So he's looking for volunteers to get particular letters. Go to flickr.com. If you're not already a member of the Tech Guy group, join it. You'll know you're in the right place. Got a picture of me, 13,000 members, 7,000 photos, 300 discussions. It's a very active, great place for photo sharing. Flickr.com, the Tech Guy group. And then under discussions, Chris has a alphabet assignment discussion. Because what he's trying to do is get all the letters, shapes that look like letters, not letters themselves. So don't take pictures of a sign or anything like that. These are shapes that look like letters. Tag them TG Alphabet, TG for Tech Guy, so we know it's for the Tech Guy assignment. TG Alphabet, and upload them to Flickr, and then send them over to Renee Silverman at the Tech Guy group. Just submit them to the Tech Guy group. It's been about a week, so a couple more weeks, and then Chris will pick 3 to review. But what he'd really like to do is get all the letters. He says bonus points for difficult letters like R, Q, F, G, and K. Can you do it? I mean, that's hard. I'd see an F in nature, or a Q. But keep your eye peeled for natural shapes that look like letters. And then if you find one, snap it. Doesn't have to be with a fancy camera. It doesn't even have to be a great photo. At this point, I think try to make it a good photo. Think about composition and so forth. And then submit it to Flickr and the Tech Guy group with the tag TG Alphabet. Jerry on the line from Hatfield, Pennsylvania. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Leo. Can you hear me?
I hear you great. Welcome.
Leo, I'm going to preface this call by saying I'm an unapologetic good doer.
An unapologetic good doer.
That's correct.
Well, good for you. Let's do some good right now. What do you want to do?
Yesterday, I was listening to the show.
Yes.
And you had a few people there that having problems with their computer and their cell phone. They broke it.
Inevitably. Yeah.
Well, I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a guy on there called Louis Rossman.
I love Louis Rossman. Yes.
Pardon? You know him?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, I don't know him personally, but I know his channel very well. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently that people take their Apple products to the Apple dealer and say, we can't fix it for this, or if we do, you lose all your memory. They take it to Louis, and he gets it done.
He has a shop in New York City, Rossman Repair Group, and that's where a lot of the videos come from, is him showing that he can actually fix MacBook motherboards.
Well, I want to let your listeners know that don't solely rely on Apple because they want to sell you a new product instead of fixing it.
Well, Apple's system of fixing, and this has become more and more common, is part replacement. So you're not going to break out a soldering gun and fix something. They're going to replace the whole part. And this has been true for ages. 20 years ago, I had on my Mac laptop, I broke the charging port. I had it plugged in and accidentally pulled it, and it broke the charging port inside the laptop. And I took it to Apple. They said, yeah, we're going to have to replace the whole motherboard. That'll be $1,500, which is what a laptop cost. Instead, I brought it to a friend of mine who used to run, it's not there anymore, a really great Apple reseller store in San Francisco, Mac Adam. And he said, yeah, we'll charge you $5. All we have to do is open it up, resolder that connection. It'll be fine. And he did, and it worked. But Apple's not going to do that. And I know Louis is big in the right to repair movement and so forth. And I think sometimes people ascribe, greed to Apple for doing it their way. But really, if you think about it, when you're repairing thousands and thousands and thousands of laptops, it's really the easy way for them to do it. And you're guaranteed that it's going to work and all that.
Well, that poor lady whose grandkids broke her computer.
Stepped on her HP Envy, I know. Yeah. And that's probably an easy fix, right? You just replace the screen. The problem is, and Lewis is always complaining about this, Apple neither provides the manuals nor the parts to do this. Although they've changed their tune because there's been a lot of pressure on them. The right to repair has become a movement all over the country. In many state legislatures, Apple lobbies hard against it, as do companies like John Deere, the big tractor company. They don't want you to fix your John Deere tractor. They want you to bring it to them. And they put in all sorts of, I think, sneaky little techniques to keep you from fixing it yourself. But I think Lewis and others are right to say, look, you own it. It's yours. You have the right to repair it. Apple is saying, well, that might be true, but there's security issues and concerns. People assume that their iPhone is secure and encrypted, and you bring it to a third-party repair group. You don't know if it's been properly repaired. It may be that the security has been breached. There's some good points, although we just saw a news story. A young woman sued Apple's own repair technicians because they took pictures of her off her phone and put them up on the internet. She sued and won a big settlement against Apple.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Well, the whole reason for my call is let people know that don't rely on Apple for your last word of repairs.
Yeah. So if you want to know more about this, certainly Louis Rossman's channel on YouTube is excellent. Rossman. And then
he's moving though because of New York's laws and stuff like that. I think he's moving to Florida.
Oh, no kidding! I didn't hear that. Yeah,
he's in Florida. He's doing podcasts from Florida.
Oh, I didn't realize. So he's closed the shop in New York?
Not exactly. He's looking for a place to move to.
It's ironic because New York State just passed a right to repair bill, something he's been lobbying for a long time, and I think it's partly because of him. There's also a company called iFixit, similar, where iFixit.com, where they sell parts and repair videos and so forth because they really believe strongly in the right to repair. So if you're interested in this, if you Google right to repair or go to repair.org and learn about this, because I do think it's your right to repair, but I think there's also a story on the other side. There's reasons, John Deere, in John Deere's case, they don't want competitors to get access to their software because these big combines and tractors these days are highly software driven. Apple's more concerned, I think, about security. I don't think it's necessarily just they're protecting profits over the interests of their users. It's more complicated than that. But I do believe right to repair and hack. You should be able to hack and repair anything you've got. It's just like I was talking about writing your own software. If you have a technology product that you can't open up and play with and learn and repair yourself, then well, that just doesn't seem right, and I'm a big supporter of it. Repair.org, if you want to know more. And you're absolutely right. There are repairs that third-party repair technicians are willing to do that Apple will not. So you should always check. Get a second opinion.
Thank you, Leo.
Hey, great to talk to you again. Take care.
Right.
Thanks, Jerry. Right to repair. That's quite a movement now. I think there's something. More than half of the state legislatures are considering or have adopted right to repair legislation. Yeah, and the problem is Apple comes in with big bucks and lobbyists. John Deere comes in, other companies, and either they get the bill reversed, as they've done in some states, or they get it modified. For instance, the New York Digital Fair Repair Act has passed the New York Senate. It still has to get through the Assembly, which will have its own bill. So we'll see. We'll see. Massachusetts approved the right to repair. The Motor Vehicle Owners' Right to Repair Act takes effect next year. Independent repair shops. That's a problem too, right, with your automobile. It's so complicated these days. You need to have the manufacturer-supplied computer systems to get in there and fix it. And they often won't let, the shade tree mechanics have them. So it's a big issue. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I just had a horrible thought. You know, we're doing this Alaska cruise. We're inviting everybody to go along. If you go to cruise.twit.tv, you can find out about it. It's not till next year, 2023. And it's going to be fun. It's our podcast network. I'll be there. My wife will be there, and maybe some other hosts if we can wangle their way on board. July 16th through the 23rd, 2022. And I think what I'm probably going to do is have like a cocktail hour every night. But I just realized it's going to be like a mini tech guy show, right? People say, don't bring your old laptop. Please don't bring your broken iPhone on the cruise, okay? We're going to have fun instead of, I can help you a little bit. I just thought, oh my gosh, what if everybody just comes and asks, hey, I lost my homework. Can you help me? Should be more fun than that. We're going to see a lot of Alaska. It's going to be beautiful. We're sailing on the Holland America Eurodom, which is a very nice boat. Cruise.twit.tv if you're interested and you want to find out more. It leaves Seattle July 16th of next year, comes back July 23rd. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. But I am here to help you now, okay? That's good. Let's do it now. Richard on the line, and it doesn't cost you the trip to Alaska either. Richard on the line from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Hello, Richard.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I am well. How are you?
I'm hot, sweaty, tired, sweaty, hot.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Richard.
I had a little problem Tuesday. I went to get the mail in the morning Tuesday, and it worked just fine.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, I went to get it, and I got this little box that says, please put your name and username. Now, for 20 years, I've been using something like this and never had that. And it turns out someone at Microsoft seems to have changed the mail in and mail out, and they didn't tell anyone.
So let me ask you some questions about how you get your mail. So who's the mail provider? Is it Outlook.com?
Comcast.
Okay.
And they told me to call you because...
Wait a minute. Comcast told you to call me?
Well, I wouldn't say exactly
that's my biggest fear is that pretty soon these companies will say, let Leo do the tech support.
Let Leo do it.
Let him do it. He's on the radio. He can just call him.
He knows. No,
all right. So you have a Comcast account.
Yes.
And your email is through them. So you don't tell me your email address, but the part after the @ sign is comcast.net?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a Comcast email account. All right. And then you're using Windows 10?
I'm using Windows 7.
Windows 7.
Outlook.
Okay. And you're using Outlook as the program to get the mail?
Yeah. The
reason I have to ask all these questions is because Microsoft has used the word Outlook for a great many things.
Yes, they have.
Including their own mail service, Outlook.com. So when you say I have Outlook, it could be the program Outlook, could be Outlook Express, could be Outlook.com. There's a lot of things it could be. But now I understand. So using Outlook from Microsoft Office, the Outlook email program, to get your email from Comcast. And for some reason, all of a sudden... Outlook is saying log in to your email program.
And I have not, I don't think I wrote it down. I've been looking and I cannot find my password. I know the username, that's obvious, but the password and everything I try, it just laughs at me.
So, can you log into your Comcast account?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I can get mail through their web.
So that's the same password.
Yeah.
That's the same. Yeah. So that's the password to use. I want to be clear on this. You're already logged into Windows. Windows is running. You got everything running. You click the Outlook icon, right?
Yep. Right.
And Outlook launches, and the first thing happens is Outlook says, "Well, you got to log in."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sounds like Outlook, for reasons no one knows, lost its settings. And it may be more than just the password. The password will be the same as your Comcast password. But there also, if you look in Outlook, there are settings for the server that it has to go to, the outbound server, the port number, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you know that already because Comcast already told you that, right? So you can search for Comcast servers if you don't remember any of that stuff. Comcast mail servers, and you could even, and this is probably the best way to do it, search for Comcast mail and Outlook, and you'll find a page that will say how to set up Comcast mail for Outlook, and that's nice because it'll have screenshots of the little settings boxes. In fact, it's at Xfinity.com. So there's a whole page, how to set up your Comcast email address with an email program. And one of the programs is Outlook 2013 or 2016 or 2010 or Outlook 365. I told you they use Outlook over and over again. So you have to figure out which Outlook. If you're using Windows 7, it's probably Outlook 2010. And they have screenshots, and they'll show you all the things to fill in. Fill in all those things. And one of the things they'll say is, what's your Comcast username and password? And that is the same as your Comcast account.
Oh.
Okay? And don't forget, when you put your username, to put at Comcast.net. Because that's the full email address. Okay? I think that's all that happened, is that for some reason, and it's not unheard of, Outlook just hiccuped and forgot everything. I'm not a fan of Outlook. If you listen to this show on a regular basis, you might hear me inveigh against Outlook from time to time. Because one of the things Outlook does, I don't think it's good, is it puts everything, your emails, your calendar, your address book, your settings, everything, into this big blob called Outlook.pst. It's one giant file. And the only problem with doing that is if anything goes wrong and the file gets a little damaged or corrupted, everything is gone, shot. In fact, it's such a problem Outlook has built into it menu items for rebuilding your Outlook.pst file, for backing up your Outlook. They have all sorts of stuff they had to add because it was a bad choice in the first place, in my opinion. So it may be that somehow it got messed up. It could be also that Comcast changed the settings on you a little bit or something, but I think much more likely that Comcast doesn't want to do that because they don't want a lot of people like you calling them and bugging them. That's probably why they said, call Leo, don't ask us. But no, you can fix those settings. I'll put a link in the show notes on how to set up Comcast Mail for Outlook. If you can't find it online by searching, it'll be at techguylabs.com. And I wish they made it a little bit easier. Honestly, I think the real problem is that Comcast and everybody else wants you to use the web version of this, the webmail. And I know your mail's okay because you told me you were able to use the webmail. So that's the good news. Your email's still there. And they I think they're just going with the flow. Once Google started this back in 2010 with Gmail, and everybody started using a web browser to get their email, it just became the way you get your email. I don't do it. I don't like it. I like having a desktop client that downloads the mail and sorts it and processes it and makes my life easier. It has the program I use has templates for outbound mail, so I just start it and fills in all the basic stuff. And I prefer to do it that way. But most other people just use Gmail. My wife uses Gmail. I said, honey, you could make it so much more complicated. She says, no, I don't. And don't tell me what to do. But it could be so much more complicated. No. I will give you the Mint Mobile offer code. I'm pretty sure it's mintmobile.com/twit. I think you just go to a web page, but let me check. I have it's mintmobile.com/techguy. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Mick. Mr. Mick in our Discord. Thank you, sir. Our Discord is, of course, a special place for Club Twit members. I hope you are a member of Club Twit. It helps us out immensely. Of course, we still offer the IRC for free, the Twit forums for free at twit.community, the Mastodon instance, and all of our shows free. I mean, we're not changing that. I didn't want to put up a paywall, but I did want to give people a way they could support the podcasts. And more than that, get a little benefit for themselves. So we created Club TWiT. It was Lisa's idea. It's brilliant. $7 a month. That's it. There's no yearly. It's just month to month, $7 a month. So you can easily cancel after a month if you don't like it. What do you get? You get the good feeling that you're supporting the network. Thank you. And as kind of we're throwing in some extras, you get ad-free versions of all of our shows. We did that because a number of people don't like the ads, or they don't want to hear the ads, or they don't want the ad tracking that's involved in advertising. And so we said, fine, $7 a month, no ads. And it's kind of we can't make money on you from ads, so you pay us, and then we don't have to make money on you from ads. We also threw in this Discord, which is really fun. It is really fun. I have to say, we're having a blast in there, trying all sorts of stuff. This is the Tech Guy chat room. This is the East Side stage where they're listening and they can raise their hand and ask questions. Mr. Mick's in there. But there's also conversations not only for every show, but on topics like autos and books and gaming, hacking, Linux. Lisa has her own place in there, Lisa's Place, movies, photography. So there's great conversations going on all the time in there. And then you also get the TWiT Plus feed, which is just, stuff that, well, for instance, we'll put that gaming stream that we did earlier today, the Microsoft gaming stream, on the TWiT Plus feed. There's a Linux show on there. Lisa and I do Inside TWiT. In fact, we got to do one soon. I do my Valheim streaming. There's all sorts of stuff. That is all through Club TWiT. And if you want to know more, twit.tv/clubtwit. It's uses Stripe, so you can. It's very easy. Use Google Pay or Apple Pay to pay, and you're in. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Professor Laura, our musical director, says you better start talking before the rap starts. Okay. Thanks for the warning. John on the line from Moore Park, California. Hello, John. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Just as I came to the computer, my computer died, and I'm getting the keyboard lights on it, but I don't get a screen. So I have a backup question instead.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, well, it's okay. It's all good.
Okay. So your question is not about the dead computer, because it's dead.
I'm on my way that way also, but what the hell? I have a friend of mine, and her deceased husband and herself and I, we would play usually word games together, and he's been dead now about 3 years.
Oh.
We were talking, we were talking, and say, can you go to your computer? And she says, well, all I have is George's password. And so I thought I would call you and say, is she locked out, or is there a remainder of the computer that she could use, or does she have to just go out and buy a new computer?
No, she can use the computer with or without George's password. But if she has George's password, she does have that, you said.
She does not.
Oh, does not have that. Okay.
No.
So she turns on the computer. It says, hi, George, what's your password? And she goes, I don't know. But the computer is absolutely usable. There are a couple of choices she has. Is it a Windows PC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
And do you know offhand if it's modern, or is it pretty old? Is it Windows 10?
I would say it's Windows 10.
Okay. George kept it up to date. So, let me think. Probably the best thing the easiest thing for her to do is in a way start fresh on that computer. Unless there's stuff in George's account that she really wants. Do you think there is?
Who knows?
Yeah. So here are the choices you can give her. You say, look, and you can do this for her if you want. You can download from Microsoft a Windows 10 installer. Because the computer is already a Windows 10 computer, you just put that in the USB drive, reboot the computer. You might have to tell it to boot from a USB drive. You might not. And once you do that, it'll say, oh, good, you want me to reinstall Windows 10? You say yes, and she's got a brand new, fresh install of Windows 10 and a brand new computer, in effect, she can use. But that will, wipe out whatever's on there. If there's stuff she wants, then she should probably bring it into a shop where they can take the hard drive out and get the files off without logging into George's account. And so if she think George saved some files that she might want, and that may be the case even if she doesn't know that, the shop can pull it off onto another drive. And then they can do the same thing. Once they've pulled that data off, they can reinstall Windows 10 and the computer will be just like new. If you're fairly techie, you could do that for her as well. If you want, I can describe the process.
I could figure it out.
Yeah, you probably have to take the drive out. Is it a laptop or desktop?
I don't know.
Okay. So, yeah, basically just the short answer is you take the drive out, you mount it on your own computer. You'll see all the stuff in there, unless you use BitLocker, which is very few people use, is unlikely, to encrypt the whole disk. If it doesn't have full drive encryption, you'll see the documents and be able to copy them off and stuff like that.
All right, I'll do that. I want to seg you to a previous caller who had the problem with the motherboard and all of Apple said the computer has to replace.
Yeah.
A friend of mine and I went to Apple. This is about 2 years ago. He had a very expensive, the most expensive Apple MacBook laptop that you can get, and they put it through these tests at their Apple store, about half hour, 40-minute test, and she said pronounced that the motherboard is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so we went back to the Simi Valley Senior Center. We're playing with it. And he decided, well, let's just see what happens. I'm going to load Ubuntu onto it. And he cleared the whole damn thing. He said, well, the hell with Apple. Cleared the whole damn thing out and loaded Ubuntu on it. And the damn thing booted. It booted perfectly. So then he loaded GIMP.
It was just a software issue. There was no hardware problem.
That's right. All of this, the little machines he had on the screen and all of the folderol she went through was all I hate the sound. It was a fire drill is what it was.
Isn't that hysterical?
And it's running. It runs. And he loaded GIMP on it with running Ubuntu.
Well,
and I thought,
by the way, so could your friend. That's another thing she could do with that computer is just put Linux on it. And but I think she'll want Windows probably, right?
I think so.
Yeah. She could bring it over to the senior center, get the same guy to do the same thing. And actually, if he's around, that's the other way you could get the data off is just load Ubuntu or some other form of Linux on a USB drive, start the computer up, and then you'll see all the files and you can copy them off that way without even removing the hard drive. That's the easier way to do it.
I'm going to play with it and help her out.
Good.
And if worse comes to worse, they're not hurting for money. They can get another computer. So what the heck?
Yeah, not the worst.
I think she'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the only thing now I have to worry about is my keyboard lights up, and I got a boom, but that's all it does.
That's not good.
It's a 3-year-old Surface Book 2 with 16 gig.
Yeah.
I guess
the keyboard doesn't say anything because the Surface Book would just light up the keyboard without actually functioning. So,
well, I assume Microsoft has a place I can mail.
Oh yeah, they totally do. Yeah. I think that's who should be taking care of that. John, a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for your suggestion.
Thank you for doing what you do.
All right. Take care. By the way, I think this is really great. Apple announced this week. They're going to have a digital legacy service for user accounts. So you can assign an administrator to your Mac account, like your wife. So if something happens to you, if you die, they can sign in through what Apple calls a legacy contact Apple ID and get to the data. Because it is not unusual. The people pass away and the surviving spouse has no access to it. There's stuff on there they may need. The legacy administrator will not have access to any payment information like credit cards or passwords stored on a keychain, but will have access to the data like the iCloud photos and notes and so forth. So I think this is it's just a measure of the fact that we're all getting a little bit older, and this is something we have to think about. Apple used to be for 20-somethings. Now we're adults. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Mr. Rodney Pyle is available. And on the line, our space guy.
Hello, sir.
I was watching, John pointed me to a YouTube channel where we're watching them build the gantry for look at the size. The size of this thing is phenomenal.
SpaceX Vision.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? And when they roll out, we've gotten used to seeing the Starship, which is just the upper third of it or so.
Right.
When they roll out that
Can't
first stage booster and stack that thing, that's going to be really something.
Is that a dedicated booster, or are they using a Falcon, or what are they using?
No, they build the special. So the Falcon is about, I think, 20 feet in diameter, something roughly like that. The less probably. The Starship first stage is the same diameter as the Saturn V was, 33 feet.
Wow.
So it's going to be a monster, and it's going to be a little taller than Saturn V. So while I love any rocket launch, I haven't been to one in a while, but I definitely want to go see that thing take off.
Wow.
Because that's going to be sensational.
And it's it's a single unit. It's not like the dual engines on this shuttle.
No, there's no solids on the side. The first stage, though, has they're still kind of fiddling with it, but about 32 rocket engines on it. Which is that's a big computer control project right there.
Yeah, so it doesn't go sideways. Yeah.
Well, or explode. That's what killed the Russian moon rocket that was supposed to take on the Saturn V back during the space race. I think had 32 engines itself, but they were using primitive, Soviet electronics at the time, and they could just never get it to sync right, obviously. SpaceX and others have solved that problem. But yeah, that's going to be quite a show when it goes up. So,
what do you think of Bezos' plan to be the first person to fly on Blue Origin?
I think well, on the one hand, and that was one of the things I was going to talk about today. On the one hand, I think he's a daring man to do it this early on. On the other hand, they've tested this thing to death. I think this is going to be the 14th or 15th flight. And
the first manned flight.
First crewed flight, but they've wrung out the bugs, and this isn't going through the rigors of going to orbit and re-entering. This is basically Al Shepard's flight back in 1961 of taking a big loop up suborbital, just far enough to say, "Okay, we're in space. Let's go home." So,
Oh, I would do it. I'm sure, though, if he were still the CEO of Amazon, the board would stop him. But now he's retired. He's just the chairman.
Well, I don't know. Could they? I mean, it's
kind of a hand-picked board. They probably do whatever he wants. But I think if you're a responsible board member and your founder CEO is about to do something life-threatening, that it would be reasonable for you to say, maybe not.
Yeah, and that's one reason Musk has always kept SpaceX privately held and closely held, because he says, I don't want people, and it's a good point. So what board's going to let me do this stuff, right? I mean, he spends a lot of his own cash doing things. I laud it. I think the results are good, but most corporate boards are going to go, I'm sorry, what did you say? You're going to Mars on the next rocket? I think not.
Oh.
So pertaining to what you were talking about just before we came on, I want to have a small application that will continue to ping people with context-relevant email.
I'm still alive. Not dead yet.
I'm still here. Get me out of the box. I'm scratching the lid. The lid won't lift up. That'd be kind of a fun joke, wouldn't it?
We'll call it the handfromthegrave.com. It'll be great.
Be like that little coin snatcher bank.
Yeah.
Like
Not
thing,
dead yet.
right?
Yep. So here we go.
Okay.
I only know you want to talk about the Bezos thing. I don't know, but I don't care. I'll just let you
a couple other things too.
lead the charge.
Yay.
It's time for our Rocket Man space expert, Rod Pyle, the author of Space 2.0, editor-in-chief at Ad Astra magazine of the National Space Society. He's a guy who lives for rockets. Hello, Rocket Man. How you doing, Rod?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You're doing a new book for
for?
JPL, you said. That's exciting.
I am. Yeah, they do a technical highlights book every year, And it's really fascinating because you get to write about 30 to 35 new programs of things that they're doing. And sometimes it's stuff we don't hear a lot about because it might be very early in its development, or it's something that's kind of small but really fascinating. So it primarily goes to NASA, but it's available online if you know where to look. I'll give you a link.
It's pretty cool. I mean, JPL is really, you know, after Perseverance, I just have so much respect for them. They just are
Have you ever
amazing.
been there?
No. Sometime I'll come down. Maybe I can get you to give me a tour.
The bummer is they're the only NASA field center I know of. There may be one other that doesn't have a major visitor center, you know, that's open to the public. There's just no room up there.
It's okay. I know somebody. You can probably get me in.
But I just wish that more people could go. They have an open house every year, and it sells out. It's free, but the tickets go in like 90 seconds or something. I mean, they're just gone.
They're like the heroes of the space age.
They kind of are.
Yeah.
And the main auditorium they've got there, a place called Von Karman, they have full scale either mock-ups or engineering twins of Voyager and Cassini and a bunch of other spacecraft in there. It's just sensational looking. You kind of get chills when you're standing around looking at this stuff. But today we're talking about people on rockets.
Billionaires in space.
Oh, my Lord. I got to... So, we've been watching... Blue Origin testing the New Shepard rocket over and over and over and over and over and over, about 14 times now. And it's a small single-stage rocket that takes the Blue Origin capsule up, the New Shepard capsule up, in a kind of a parabolic arc, just like Alan Shepard's flight back in 1961, right? So it's just a lob.
Is that what they call it, the New Shepard?
Yeah.
Oh. That's cool.
As an homage to him.
Yeah,
if you look at the spelling, there's no H in it. Yeah, it's Shepard.
Oh, that's neat.
And the next rocket's going to be the New Glenn and then the New Armstrong.
Oh, that's really cool. I like
So it
that.
is cool.
Yeah.
So, we've been watching this and thinking, okay, when, same thing we're thinking with Virgin Galactic. When are you going to fly a person? When are you going to fly a
Branson's going to fly in his, isn't he?
Well, so Bezos says, okay, everybody, I'm taking the mystery out of it. Because again, as I've talked about before, getting news out of Blue Origin, if they don't want to tell you, is like, they're
the anti SpaceX, anti Elon Musk. It's a completely different attitude.
Yeah, it's very quiet. We're taking our time. We'll let you know when we feel like it. But so Bezos did say, I'm going to fly this year.
That seems
I'm going to fly
a
with
little
my brother.
Risky, but I mean, somebody's got to do it. Jeff's recently retired. He's, we can send him up.
Yeah, retired, quote unquote. I mean, this is not retirement the way you and I will be facing it, but yeah. But I mean, and the guy, he's built like a Spartan. He's one of the most physically fit human beings I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was something that happened
astonishing.
Relatively lately. He got all buffed, but so he's ready to fly.
So he's ready to fly.
He's a
taking his brother with
steely-eyed
him.
rocket man, ready to go.
And they auctioned a third seat, and we're not sure the status of the fourth seat, but the auction went up the other day. In 7 minutes, the price went from $4.8 million to $28 million.
Yow!
To buy a seat to fly on this. What is it?
It's suborbital. It's not even an orbit.
Yeah,
it's just going up and down.
So it's 10 to 12 minutes. But what's weird about this to me,
28 million for 10 to 12 minutes.
Well. And you can see on the one hand it's a charity. The money goes towards his Club for the Future, which is a big STEM group that he set up. So that's kind of good.
That's good.
On the other hand, if you doubled that amount of money, you could buy a seat on a SpaceX Crew Dragon 2 capsule and go up to the space station and hang out for 2 weeks. So I'm not sure I'd pay that kind of money for a suborbital flight, but somebody did. And as I said, it's for nonprofits. That's good. They're scheduled to fly on July 20th, which is
soon.
Not yet officially, but it's Apollo 11 Day. It's the 52nd anniversary.
July 20th, 1969. That's right.
So as soon as that's announced, not too much later, Richard Branson says, hold on. I'm going too on mine, and I'm going to go before you. So the race is on, finally. I mean, these guys have been building these things for years. Branson originally figured he bought into that system, Virgin Galactic. He bought that Scaled Composites and X Prize rocket plane in 2004, said, we'll be flying by 2007, 2008, no sweat. And here we are. A lot later.
Wow.
So hopefully he'll do it. And it would be kind of fun to watch those guys sort of try and one-up each other. And Musk would just sit back with his arms folded and make snarky tweets in the background while they're trying to do their thing. So that's what's happening there. Also, did you see the Chinese Mars rover self-portrait they did?
No. Let me see if I can find
it. Took a picture of itself sitting next to the lander.
Yeah.
A very cool picture. And of course, those of us who grew up in the science fiction age of the 50s and later, you always see rockets out in space from an exterior perspective, right? And not many of us stop and think, wait, who took that picture?
Does this qualify as a selfie?
Well, it does, and so I'll tell you why. So the Curiosity rover does these, but it does them by extending its camera out on its arm and
that's
taking
a true
various
selfie.
Angles.
Yeah.
And then mortising them together. The Chinese rovers, you're wrong, did something much more sort of clinically intelligent, I think. It just drove over, dropped a camera, backed up, and said, smile. It's kind of like, how we used to have cameras with timers on them. Now you've got your phone remote. So it actually dropped the camera just to take that picture.
It looks like it's got a little humanoid. It's got wings.
It's almost got a little weird little smile there. Huh? Saying,
that's cute.
Second country on the surface.
Yeah, we're here.
Smirky.
Yeah,
others have tried. We made it work. Yeah. So it's taking some pictures and it's doing some great things. It's a costly way to do a self-promotion snapshot, but if you're the country that develops the rover, you get to do whatever you want. And the mission is a few weeks in. They're expecting it to last 3 months. But again, like the stuff that the U.S. sends up there, it could go on for years and years. So we'll see. It's got solar panels. And my last thing.
Wall-E. The chat room saying
it does, doesn't it? The face is kind of weird.
Wall-E.
Speaking of solar panels on robots, because we're probably getting close on time here, right?
Yeah, a couple minutes, yeah.
Okay. So solar panels are always kind of you're a little nervous about it because on the one hand, it's forever power unless you get a major dust storm that wipes out your batteries like happened to the Opportunity rover. On the other hand, Mars is a dusty place. You don't want too much dirt getting on your solar panels because then they're less effective, right? So for years, there had been questions in the mind, at least of the JPL folks, saying, well, do we want to use solar panels in this one or do we try and spend the extra money for a plutonium power supply because we don't want it to get dust strangled? No, that turns out the dust on Mars is very fine. It's not quite as sticky as they had feared. And these wind events come up every now and then that clear it off.
Oh.
But it doesn't always clear off enough. So JPL tried something very interesting with the Mars InSight lander. That one went up a few years ago to do seismic studies of the planet and attempt to drill down, although the drill didn't work as well as we had hoped. So they saw this wind event coming. They scooped up a bunch of dirt, sandy dirt, and kind of held it in front of the solar panel. And then as the wind blew by, they dribbled it down at just the right time so it would sweep down and scour the solar panel clean.
Dirt shower.
And it worked. Yeah, it took a dirt shower. And I read about this and I thought, it could have just gone and sat there. So I'm sure they tested it to death first in their wind tunnel and so forth. But I thought that was really cool. And very
ingenuity.
Clever.
Human ingenuity knows no bounds.
It made me want to go out and rub a bunch of dirt in my armpit.
I don't think it'll work.
It didn't work the same way. No,
Rod,
it didn't.
But thanks for that image. Rod Pyle.
Yeah.
Our steely-eyed rocket man, author of Space 2.0, editor-in-chief at Ad Astra. Go to space.nss.org to learn more. Thank you, Rod. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Always good to talk to you.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's hysterical.
I'm just so glad it did what it was supposed to do.
We dumped dirt on our sensors and it didn't work. They're dirty.
Sorry.
Now they're dirty. Oh.
$250 million down the tube.
No.
Sorry. No, it worked. They were very careful. And then I was up there at JPL, and it's mostly closed down now, so the book is actually going to be a remote project, but I got to give the two guys responsible for the initial design of the entry, descent, and landing profile a couple of trophies to the National Space Society, and that was fun. We had to have 12-foot social distancing.
But that's
so it was
neat.
an interesting production problem.
Yeah.
But they were really moved, and there was nobody there. It was kind of a ghost town because they're still closed up for the most part. They've only got about 1,000 people there. But it's just so cool. A deer came strolling by while we were chatting.
Aww.
It was pretty neat. Hey, can I ask you a tech question?
Yes.
Everybody else does.
That's all I'm here for. It's what I live for. Don't ask me about your printer. Okay, go ahead.
I'll promise. I'm editing this streaming presentation for the National Space Society in a couple of weeks, and I've got my new Mac M1 13-inch.
Nice.
I'm using an off-board SSD drive.
Yes.
For the media.
Yes.
And it's very laggy in terms of starting and stopping the playing in the timeline on Adobe Premiere Pro.
USB connection, Thunderbolt?
Yeah.
Which? They're different. They're distinct.
Yeah, and it's the same. It looks exactly the same, right?
It's probably cheaper. Thunderbolts are very expensive.
Okay, yeah, it was $100 1 terabyte.
And
SSD
is it?
drive.
And you're sure it's SSD, not some other thing? Who makes it?
It was a Samsung.
Samsung, and it's a Samsung external. Is it is it a T3, T5? Which one do you remember?
I don't.
I have a number of Samsung drives like that.
Now that you've said this, I'm almost certain it's not Thunderbolt.
They do make a Thunderbolt drive, but it's very expensive.
Yeah,
so it's probably a T3.
Like $120.
Yeah,
or something.
it's a T3. So,
so it's just normal for them to
shouldn't be laggy. No,
delay like that?
No, should not be laggy. I'm wondering. That's interesting.
And I'm only cutting at 1080. It's not 4K or anything.
Yeah.
Man, you're getting those data rates.
That's USB 3.1, so it should be going pretty fast.
Huh.
I'm not sure what's going on. Did you install? It comes with Samsung encryption software. Did you install that?
I did not.
I would suggest formatting the drive using Apple's APFS, not the exFAT that's formatted with. It's formatted with a compatible. You're only going to use it on a Mac, right?
Right, yeah. So
reformat it. Open Disk Utility and format it with APFS. I bet you that'll fix it.
Okay, I think I did that, but I'll check.
Yeah, you could. Disk Utility will tell you.
Okay.
That would make a big difference. I can't think. The drives don't sleep. Can't think of anything else. I actually have the Thunderbolt Samsung. I don't have the T3 anymore. I gave that away. So I don't know. Shouldn't be laggy, though. It should be fast enough to give you 1080p at full frame rate without a problem at all.
But you must have a lot of friends crowding around you. You giving anything away this week?
I do a semi-annual Leo's Garage Sale in the conference room where I bring stuff. And it's usually gone by the end of the day.
I can imagine, yeah. I'll bet the prime choices are gone within about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Burke and John pretty much. Hey, I got to run. Nice to talk to you. Have a great week. We'll talk next week.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for letting me do this show every week. I can't believe it. I am the luckiest man in the world. Thanks to Professor Laura, our musical director, spinning the discs. Thanks to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, answering your calls. Thanks to all of you who listen and call, you who also serve, who merely sit and listen. Because if you didn't sit and listen, I wouldn't be doing it. Thank you. Thank you. It's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate the chance to be your personal tech guy. Dave on the line from Ridgecrest. Hello, Dave. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, hi, Leo.
Hey, Dave.
I talked to you a while back. I don't know if you remember me, but I wanted to check out the senior phones.
Yeah.
I think I qualify. I just had an 90th birthday last month.
I think you qualify, yes. Yeah. How's your vision? Is your eyesight pretty good, Dave, or is it?
Well, it's waning.
Yeah.
I've always had a problem anyhow, but
and do you want to just use it for a phone, or do you want to use it for some of the things the kids use their phones for these days?
No, usually just for a phone.
Yeah. Nowadays, a phone.
I'm currently using a track phone.
Okay.
And I think it's a Samsung, but it's small. It's getting harder to see.
Yep.
And
that's why I asked.
It does other things that the main reason I hung on to it is because I think, like I said, it was a Samsung, and as long as I have the life of the phone, I get double minutes every time I renew.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nowadays, though, I got to tell you, most phone companies don't count your minutes anymore. Mm-hmm. You get unlimited nationwide talk and text on almost every system. And on some of them, it's as little as $15 or $20 a month. You might also probably do qualify for a federal phone subsidy as well. So phone shouldn't cost you too much. You shouldn't necessarily limit yourself by that. You want the phone that you can use. Do you need big buttons?
It helps.
Yep. So
what I've got is two brochures. One used to be the Jitterbug, and now I guess it's been taken over by
Lively.
Yeah.
Lively. I think it's the same guys who just thought, Jitterbug makes it sound kind of old.
The brochures look exactly the same.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Lively's a better name for it. It's actually the company that owns it is neither Jitterbug nor Lively. It's called First Street.
Yeah.
So they have phones with big buttons. They have, I have to say, the displays are probably still pretty hard for you to read. The flip phones don't do any of the stuff, the games or any of that stuff. They're really just phones, and that's probably all you really need.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the Livelies have emergency response buttons, which your family might be glad that you have on the phone. I'm trying to think what would be so big buttons and an easy to read display sounds like the main thing. How about hearing? Do you need them work with your hearing aids, or does that matter?
It's waning, but I've managed to get by with most everything. It's if I keep the wax out of my ears.
The nice thing about most phones, especially ones aimed at older folks like you and me, they will tie into your hearing aids pretty well, so you can actually use your hearing aids to hear them. Mm-hmm. I'm going to refer you to a blog called Senior Link. At Senior Link. Yeah, Senior Link. They have a review, fairly recent, of cell phones for seniors. The reason I say that instead of just saying one or the other is it really is going to depend on how important various features are to you. I'm going to suggest, since it's really just a phone, that you probably want something simple. Like, there's a company called Blue, B-L-U. They make very popular Android phones. They make a phone that I think is great for people with vision and mobility issues called the Joy, B-L-U-J-O-Y, $30. Mm-hmm. You can get it factory unlocked, which means you can put in or have somebody put in a SIM from any carrier. So if you want to stick with your existing carrier, you probably do. You could just get that SIM put in. And it has big buttons, I think a very legible screen. It's very inexpensive, and it's a modern phone in the sense that it does everything modern phones do. But it's not a smartphone in the sense that, you could play Words with Friends on it or anything like that. But I think this probably is your best bet. But I'll put a link into that Senior Link review so you could see a variety of phones. There are quite a few. This has become a very popular category, and I think the Livelies are very nice. It looks like they stopped making the one I like the best, which had giant buttons on it.
They're most best smartphone.
Yeah. I like, you don't want a smartphone because it's going to be much more complicated. There's going to be much more stuff on the screen that makes it harder to read. You really want a cell phone that's been a cell phone and nothing else, kind of like the original cell phones. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, you don't want to get too fancy. Now, if you wanted those kind of capabilities, I'd say look at an iPad or something like that can have a bigger screen. It'll be easier to use. You can get that functionality and let the phone just be a phone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Does that seem like something that makes sense to you, David?
We got another couple minutes?
Yeah.
I got to chew you out on something.
Uh-oh.
Actually, you and Petaluma.
Uh-oh. What did we do?
Well, I'm hearing that they are banning all new gas stations.
That's right. First city in the country to ban gas stations.
My point is this. You've heard of people being sued for practicing medicine without a license or practicing law without a license.
Yeah, you think we're practicing politics without a license?
Got a lot of politicians that practice science without a degree. And where in the hell do you think the electricity is coming from?
Well, I understand that, but the point is that we have quite a few gas stations in town. It's not banning them, it's only banning new construction. And part of the reason is there's a great swath of land in this town, a lot of it downtown, very valuable land, that is a Superfund site because of leaking gas tanks. Almost all gas stations end up suffering this, and these sites are unbuildable until they get remediated, which costs millions of dollars. So there's a plot of land on our main street that will never be used again. There's another one a block away. Both were gas stations. The gas stations are long gone, but the soil poisoning continues, and I think that's some degree of this. We have a lot of land that cannot be used unless some developer is willing to spend more than $1 million to remediate it, and no developer is willing to do that, unfortunately. So I'm with you. I understand we're going to need gas stations for some time to come. Maybe forever we're going to need gas stations. But I have to tell you, Dave, I have an electric car, drive 2 electric vehicles. My wife drives a Chevy Bolt. I drive a Ford Mustang Mach-E. And our electricity does not come from fossil fuels. We have solar panels on the roof, quite a few of them, and we generate our own electricity. So we're driving around thanks to the sun. Now, admittedly, the sun is probably not a very clean generator of energy, but fortunately, it's very, very far away. Dave, a pleasure to talk to you. We got to wrap up, unfortunately. Time gets away from us. Time gets away from all of us. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Have a wonderful, safe, great Geek Week, and I'll see you next time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.